Hey guys, what's going on? It's Eli, back with another review video, and continuing on reviewing Season 12 of Futurama. So yes, now we've come to Part 3 of my review of Season 12 of Futurama. Yes, so, the next batch of episodes that I now am reviewing, and you're watching, yes, Episodes 6, 7, and 8. And the title of the episodes, Episode 6, Attack of the Clothes, Episode 7, Planet Espresso, and Episode 8, Cutness Overload. Yeah. So the next 3 episodes of Season 12. Well, yeah, I mean, and having done a rewatch of these episodes, just in case, I thought that the next 3 episodes of Futurama were pretty good, what they had to offer. And, not to mention that one of these episodes, well, I mean, technically, all 3 of them, they center on 3 other characters of Futurama where, just like Leela, it's nice to see once in a while that, we would get an episode sometimes that would center on one of the other characters of the Planet Express crew, instead of, the main ones like, say, Fry and Bender most prominently. Yeah, so, these episodes, they center each on Farnsworth, Hermes, and Amy. Yeah, so with what these episodes had to offer that center on these characters, and the storylines that happen in these 3 episodes, and what goes on with the characters, and yeah, just more crazy shenanigans that happen, just overall, I thought they were pretty good. And, still, because with how people feel about, the return of Futurama, of the Hulu era and such, well, not every single episode, is bad, and I've said that before, and even with how I feel about each of the episodes, and from the last season and this, and from there on, I think that because and with what I said about in my Part 1 and Part 2 review, and for this, I quite enjoyed them, and again, having done a rewatch of them, just overall, each of these episodes with their stories, they center on, each Farnsworth, Hermes, and Amy, and the cameos we get, the hilarious moments, some emotional stuff here and there, as always, when it comes to Futurama, they're quite good at that, and some new antagonists and aliens they would come face-to-face with, just, overall. The next 3 episodes of Season 12 of Futurama, they were pretty good. I think so. And maybe some of you would feel the same way too. Okay, so, with the first things I've had to say about episodes 6, 7, and 8 out of the way now, well, now let's dive in / break down the episodes themselves. Starting with episode 6. Yeah, Attack of the Clothes. Gee, that sounds like a very similar, familiar title, does it not, I think it's obvious, and anyways. Okay, so, description / the story of Attack of the Clothes. The professor's fast fashion clothes are a smash hit, but an environmental disaster. Okay, so, Attack of the Clothes, this is where Farnsworth, well, at first, he's planning to, once again enter in this year's Academy of Inventors. And one of the first things that he shows off to the Planet Express crew, the part of the Planet Express building, rotates, the tower part. And with the antenna, that rotates and it's flipped upside down because Farnsworth has built a giant sewing machine. But that's not what he's going to be using for this year's Academy of Inventors. No. And even when he shows off a big toe of his, that, and because of the big sewing machine, but that's not the purpose. That's not what he's going to be showing off and when he, with the Academy of Inventors. No. What he's going to do is basically bring a human back to life. Basically a bit of like Frankenstein stuff, where, getting various human parts from the legs, the torso, body, the hands, the arms, and yeah, just bringing a human back to life. And once that's taken care of, well, all that's left is a head. So they go to the head museum, and first they make their way through the Hall of Presidents, and because Barack Obama's head making a cameo, although not Obama himself, Phil Lamar doing a pretty good job at doing an impression of Obama. And yeah, because some of the characters, Ronald Reagan's head gets a line voiced by Maurice LaMarche, a not bad impression of Reagan. And also because there was one guy that helped get Farnsworth some of the human parts, blacksmith or something, just what I'm saying, and you've seen the episode. But yeah, so the heads of the presidents, they're not going to work. And where's Nixon when you need him? Because and so far in season 12, no appearance of Nixon, but have to wait and see. But then they make their way to the Hall of Fashion Models and such, and whom they come face to face with, and is willing to have her head be placed on Farnsworth's creation for the Academy of Inventors, is Cara Delevingne. Yes, Cara Delevingne, now playing herself, because, as I brought up before, and you know this by now, Cara herself, has been credited in a couple of episodes of this season and the past season as an owl. And I were to guess, and I'm sure the same goes for you, that she probably does a good owl impression, the sound the owl makes, or something, whoo, probably. There's, it's not just who, but there are various other ways that owls make noises, okay? Anyways. In different ways that they can go, whoo, so, yeah. So, yeah, this time we've actually got Cara herself playing as herself, so she's willing to, volunteer and to be placed onto Farnsworth's creation. So, the Academy of Inventors comes up, and, because those that come out and they present their creations, what they've invented, including, say, Farnsworth's competitor, Dr. Ogden Wernstrom. Yeah, remember Wernstrom? Good to see him again. Wernstrom created something that has to do with a doomsday device by putting, a, stuffed version of a dog, obviously not a stuffed dog, dead, but still, and having it be for the elders, where it can act like a dog and such, just, it's weird. Also, not to mention, another cameo we get in this episode, head in a jar, and whom is the moderator for this year's Academy of Inventors, Bill Nye the Science Guy himself. Yep, Bill Nye, appearing, and, presenting and being the monitor and host of this of this year's Academy of Inventors award show. And then when it comes to Farnsworth, actually, because even before they went out, they showed up to the event. Cara was in need of a dress. So what Farnsworth did was that he took a caterpillar and took some injection, taking some injection, and had Cara stand, in a 3D dress model, to scan her and such, a 3D scanner for a dress, and taking some injection, from the body, I presume, and then injecting it into a caterpillar. Then 6 weeks passed. It was in its cocoon. It turned into a beautiful giant moth, and and by taking the cocoon, flipping it, turning it the outside, and it's this beautiful dress that now Cara wears. And when it's Farnsworth's turn at the Academy of Inventors, Cara's stepping out, and the scientists are more fascinated with the dress rather than what Farnsworth has done, bringing to life a human body, and with that, Cara's head being placed. They're more fascinated about the dress. And, unfortunately, Farnsworth, if it wasn't obvious, he did not win this year's award for Academy of Inventors. Not to mention that Bill Nye says that they're using the same envelope from last year, and the winner, of course, being Wernstrom. Yeah. But yeah, so poor Farnsworth, that didn't go so well. And a little later, he decides to, for a while, give up science and be a fashion designer and such. And from there on, and almost throughout the episode, he would change his name some, and yeah, really getting the fashion designs of the wardrobes, the dresses out there, people being really fascinated and loving his work of being a fashion designer, and Kara still hanging out with the Planet Express crew, and yeah, just wearing those dresses and such. Even when, like, say, the more popular Farnsworth gets, well, there's one moment where Zoidberg feeling left out and not being treated that well when even, like, say, they go to a fashion party and such. They attend to an annual place. And Zoidberg is not able to join them because, yeah, the getup he's been wearing all these years and with the sandals, and Zoidberg just feeling left out, and by this point, he's getting tired and sick of the wardrobe he's wearing. Even at one point, he tried to commit suicide, but actually, that's not what he was doing. We see him about to jump off, the side of the bridge, but he was just gonna jump in the water. Besides, he's a lobster. He's an alien lobster, so go figure. But yeah, just, again, poor Zoidberg just being completely left out and having no fashion on him whatsoever, in that same, lab coat and all that getup he has worn all these years and being a part of the Planet Express crew. And at one point, to speed things up some, because Farnsworth just, yeah, there's at a certain point where, he feels the need to go back to his science ways. And that's when he gets the idea to, still be a fashion designer, but at the same time be a scientist, where basically, to put it this, he does something scientific where, the clothes that the people are wearing, and people want the clothes that he has designed, what he does is take the moths and have the moths, be over the people, and they just go down, and yeah, out pops the clothing on them. Yeah, the moths providing the clothes. And even when at one point, when Farnsworth presented this, he was on the, on Morbo and, what's her face? On Linda, yeah, on their show, because they have their own talk show, kind of like similar, I guess, to the Today Show, but it's today, good morning and good night, that being the title of their show. So Farnsworth's popping on their show and explaining what he has done, with the aid of the moths, and they just go down on them, and yep. Out pops new fashion wardrobes for them. And yeah, and with the moths flying all over, that place. And yeah, anybody in need of clothes, then yeah, they provide them. Even Zoidberg, at one point, Zoidberg, now finally getting to wear some wardrobe. Now he's getting the love and attention that he's getting. And yeah, unlike what was going on with him early on in the episode, Oh, and can't forget to mention that one of the first characters to approach Farnsworth wanting, the same type of dress that Kara has is Gladys Lennox, who was Miss Vega. If anybody remembers that, for all you Futurama fanatics like me, yeah. That was great to see, and as far as I know, because, yeah, this is technically the first time we know her name. So yeah, Gladys Lennox. And yeah, because again, from there on, because everybody, wanting some wardrobe and clothing specifically from Farnsworth, and from there on. Okay, but back to where I was, because yeah, there's something else that Farnsworth brings up where apparently, yeah, because the fashions that the people wear from Farnsworth, the clothing, they'll only last one day. And because of that, Farnsworth has also provided and has shown the Fash Can, where you will dispose your fashion clothes and such, and yeah, it'll be gone. And by the way, can't forget to mention this because there is an environmental message in this episode. Yeah, nice to see. In fact, because of this, and with the fashion trash can such, and there's like a portal and such, and wherever the clothes go, Zoidberg at one point, he did dispose some pants of his, and actually at one point, a little later, and to speed things up some, Zoidberg, don't want to get the names mixed up, Zoidberg actually wants to retrieve his pants, and even if it'll be possible to do so, even Farnsworth, he said that it wouldn't. Well, I mean, a little later, the Planet Express crew, they would take it upon themselves, and Kara, tagging along with them, actually going through the Fash Can, the portal that's in the Fash Can, taking the Planet Express ship with them. You know, not to mention that there are other things that can be thrown away in the Fash Can. You know, even Farnsworth did show this off, because, like, a white furry elephant, I want to say, yeah, named Jessica, was a test, an example, and just, yeah. But overall, point being, is that, yeah, the Planet Express crew, with their Planet Express ship, they go through the Fash Can, and when they discover that there's a planet where it's entirely inhabited with all the fashioned clothes. And this was another episode where, you know, it did have some Twilight Zone vibes in it. And if you would realize, but yeah. So, with them arriving and, you know, seeing that the planet has so many fashioned clothes, you know, and it's pretty much like a, you know, the whole planet's like a garbage planet, basically, of clothes. And eventually, because, yeah, like, you know, they would find Zoidberg's pants, and by doing so, they would be out of here. But some trouble, you know, approaches them, like, yeah, because a few cats, along with the elephant Jessica, they tried attacking them, even like a giant worm of you know, that's who would become a moth, you know, those kind of bugs, yeah, then pops out and attacking them, and even Hermes brought this up that, you know, a lot of people say that moths eat clothes, but actually it's the worms, so, yeah, the caterpillars, the worms and such, you know, they're caterpillars, yeah, but the caterpillar, I should say, yeah, my mistake, starts to chase them, and, yeah, even Zoidberg got his pants. They get back on board, and they try to make a run for it. Zoidberg and Kara, they're the only two left that did not board the Planet Express ship. And, you know, Kara's holding on to Zoidberg's pants, but because of the weight, because neither one of them are gonna hold on that long, and even when Fry, he's got a hold of Zoidberg. So Kara, she sacrifices herself, and for them to get out of here, and once they've escaped, they've made their way back to the Planet Express, they tell Farnsworth that, something's got to be done with the planet that has inhabited the clothes and such. Like, it's got to be destroyed and so on. And Farnsworth, I mean, he was going to do so, but then he checked, and actually, the planet, as he's checking his device, he realizes that the planet they were at, that is inhabited with all the fashion clothes, was actually Earth. Earth in the future. And Farnsworth at first has no idea what time and year where they were on Earth and such, that's inhabited with fashion clothes. Even there's one moment where Kara, a little bit of a Planet of the Apes reference, where she sees the Statue of Liberty being buried with the fashion clothes, and, you maniacs, damn you. Oh, that was great. But then eventually Farnsworth would find out that, where in the future that Earth would be inhabited with fashion clothes is their future, their timeline. And because of that, already, the clothes, they start to come out of a portal from the sky, and this is just the beginning. But by the next episode, it's never brought up again, but hey, it's probably for the best. So, yeah. But, just, episode 6, Attack of the Clothes, that was a pretty interesting episode. I thought it was pretty good, yeah. Because we have Cara Delevingne, we have Bill Nye the Science Guy, other cameos we get. The subject, and with the environmental message this episode has, pretty good. What goes on with each of the characters, and the fact that this episode, it mostly centers on Farnsworth. That's good to see. Everything about episode 6, Attack of the Clothes, it was a pretty good episode. I enjoyed it. And maybe the same goes for some of you. Okay, so now we come to episode 7, Planet Espresso. Yeah. Okay, so description / the story. Hermes inherits a Jamaican coffee farm that holds the ruins of an ancient spaceship. Yep. So, this episode itself, okay, this one, because, as I mentioned, with these 3 episodes that center, because, the last one, it's centered on Farnsworth. This one, well, it primarily centers on Hermes. So, the opening to this episode was pretty funny, because, 2001: A Space Odyssey, obviously, and where, because the apes, they wake up to see what looks like the monolith, but it's not. It's a giant black coffee mug, and they taste the coffee, and they love it, and when one of them dips a donut in the coffee, then throws it in the air, just like how in the movie itself, 2001, throwing the bone, and then the credits roll, the intro, that is. That was a great way to start off this episode. But so, with that, Hermes is informed that, unfortunately, his father is upon his deathbed, and, so them traveling to Jamaica, and, apparently we learn that Hermes has a very strict relationship with his father, because at 4 years old, Hermes' father abandoned him, both him and his mother, and Hermes' mother being voiced by La Barbara herself, Dawn Lewis, and Hermes' father, because, there was, Dwight Conrad, that's right, Dwight Conrad, and there's also Batdrick Conrad. They were both voiced by Phil Lamar, as well as, we know, Phil Lamar voicing Hermes. So again, at a young age, at 4, his father abandoned both him and his mother, and that's because, his father's business was hit by a severe hurricane storm, and, not that much left for the Conrad family, and, his father, gonna pursue in coffee business and such, and told, Hermes at 4 years old that he would soon come back, but he never did, and because, the abandonment caused Hermes significant emotional distress, and contributed to their strained relationship later, and we don't know yet, because with the real reason why, just out of nowhere, when Hermes' father was going to fix everything, and I got it wrong, because it's Batdrick, not the other one, not Dwight, so Batdrick Conrad, that's right. And for Hermes, he's not gonna have nice things to say to his father when he meets him before he dies, and when they make their way there, Hermes was just gonna let his dying father have it with what he had to say, and Batdrick was, having trouble trying to hear and see his son, like putting in a hearing device and finding his glasses, but he accidentally went for his reading glasses and so on, and right before Hermes was about to let his father have it, unfortunately Batdrick, he dies, and, but even after he dies, Hermes, not being very polite towards his late father, even at the funeral, and, he didn't have that much to say up front at the funeral, and as for La Barbara, because she states that, Hermes' late father's dying request on how to be buried and such, be put in a sack, and, from there on. And to speed things up some, because at one point, And Hermes and Farnsworth, they were actually going to be doing this together, burying Hermes' late father. And it was very nice and kind of Hermes saying to Farnsworth that, Farnsworth was like a father to him, the father that he never had. And Farnsworth's response was, "You've been like a father that I never had." And when they were going to start burying Batrick, well, they discovered a secret hatch, and there's something buried underground, and they took it upon themselves to see what this is, and what they discovered is a buried ancient spaceship, and apparently it is harvesting coffee. And even Farnsworth discovering this thoroughly, that the ship carrying coffee and such, it's apparently 9 million, like it's 5 or 9 million years old, and apparently coffee pre-existing like humankind and such. And how's that possible? Well, I mean, the further they explore the ship, and when they find the dead crew, their skeleton remains in their spacesuits, and actually they find some cups of coffee, and each of them actually taking a drink of it. And once they do, that's when they start to go crazy. Well, yeah, their minds start to hallucinate, and they start to see the past events of what happened on that ship. Because, yeah, these aliens, they were responsible for providing the coffee. And with them bringing the coffee to various planets, and especially when it came to Earth. Yeah. And these aliens, well, because they come from the planet Thermos. Yeah. Planet Thermos that, inhabits coffee, and, some of the aliens, like, they're credited, those that voice those aliens, they're credited as habited aliens. Habited alien number 1 is voiced by David Herman, number 2 is Maurice LaMarche, and number 3 is Tress MacNeille. So, yeah, so that's what they're called. Also, to name some of the other characters, David Herman, aka Scruffy. Well, he also voices Dwayne, Alien Captain, and Larry, and of course Scruffy, appearing. And a Jamaican woman that spoke with Hermes, and where, before Hermes' father died, and where to find him in Jamaica. The Jamaican woman being voiced by Zuri Washington. Yeah. But anyway, so continuing on, because with what Hermes and Farnsworth discovered about these aliens that are referred to as habited aliens and coming from the planet Thermos, again, bringing all various planets coffee, and again, especially Earth. But unfortunately, there was an accident. One of the habited aliens, they accidentally spilled their coffee. No coffee, no cup holders, did they not think of that? I don't know. You'd think they would, but especially on a spaceship. But nope. One of them spilled their coffee, which, burning their crotch, and, losing control of the ship. And when they were making their destination to Earth, and they were making their way to Jamaica, that's when they crashed, and, that was it right there. And because of all that, that's when it hits both Hermes and Farnsworth that they should run a coffee business, and Hermes, of course, being the main one taking the lead of this. And, well, everybody was going to, actually, by this point, leave Jamaica and head back home, but that is except for Hermes. He feels the need to stay and run the farm, and because of the coffee. And both Hermes and Farnsworth, they don't want to share this information with what they discovered in that buried ancient spaceship, because, they would call them crazy. And this does upset, Hermes' wife and son, Dwight. Yes, Dwight. Again, my bad, because no. Dwight is the son, and Batrick is the father of Hermes, again, this upsets LaBarbara and Dwight especially, because, well, didn't Hermes make it very clear to his son that, because he does, that he's going to stay for a while, and how long it's going to be for him to run the farm, and from there on. And making it clear that, he's not going to abandon his family, especially his son, not wanting to go in the same direction as his father, definitely. But but again, this puts a damper on his wife and son. But yeah, and actually, because the Planet Express crew, they all become those that are in the business of coffee, and hence Planet Espresso. Yeah, even the Planet Express building, sorry, it actually, part of it on the outside actually resembles a coffee cup mug, to pour the coffee and such. And yeah, and poor Fry, because he's working 24 hours in the coffee business. And even when there's at one point where he, gives a coffee to the head of Kyle MacLachlan. Yep, Kyle MacLachlan, who makes a cameo in this episode as himself. Fry serving his coffee, and also Bender. He's that part where he's rotating in the fire. Just, you know what I'm talking about. It's funny. And at a certain point, Fry, he's getting tired and sick of this. And to think that he's the only one, besides Bender, he's the only one that's really working and, up where the cash register is. But the others, they're not doing anything. And they go on strike. And because of Fry's behavior and what he's doing, just, oh my gosh. But yeah, and Fry, it doesn't take him that long to, get them to stop going on strike and shouting, holding signs. He'll continue the awful work hours, but only if he gets less paid. Really, Fry, you want to get less paid? Okay. And coming back to Hermes, because him and Zoidberg actually is on the farm and is he's snipping the berries and stuff like that, from the farm. And of course, when it would come to providing the coffee, the beans and such that are grown. Still, Dwight still being upset that his father's not around. Even, LaBarbara updating her husband on, what's up with Dwight and such. Just, yeah. But yeah, I mean, and Hermes, he can't explain why he's doing this and not being with her and especially their son. And if he would do so, then, you just find that crazy talk, even when he does mention a little that, it's basically to, save the universe, the world and such as, yeah. But then, what happens next? There's a meeting that takes place with Hermes and the rest of the Planet Express crew, now going by Planet Espresso. The mentioning of expanding and such, and not a good sign even for Hermes and with how this is going to be handled. But Mom steps in. Yep. We once again see Mom, and she wants to help out with this situation and with, the idea of expanding and with, the money and stuff like that. But Hermes, Farnsworth, and the others, they want nothing to do with Mom, and they don't want her getting involved. They don't need her help and such. Just, yeah. But, I mean, it was nice to see, because Mom make an appearance, and, knowing the character Mom, of course, never a good sign, but just, yeah. Because, with them continuing the coffee business, there is one moment where Hermes discovers a shrubber, plant and such, that actually resembles and looks like his father. And he thought that Zoidberg did some utopia, design or something, but no. And, not to mention because there was one moment where after Hermes and Farnsworth, they buried Hermes' father, Hermes poured some coffee on his father's grave. And he thought the coffee was hot, but no, it was, cold coffee. And he remembered that, his father liked cold coffee. But when he comes face to face with this plant, shrubber that looks like and resembles his dad, well, it actually is him. And I think I figured it out the very first time I watched this, okay. And judging by the music that plays and when something grows out of his father's grave, And when it would come to this, somehow, Patrick Conrad, Hermes' late father, came back to life as a plant and so on, and, And this is where Batrick, we learn, and so does Herms, that, why Batrick abandoned him and so on. Well, just like what would happen to his son and Farnsworth, discovering the buried ancient spaceship, drinking that coffee, and, well, when that would lead him to doing the coffee business and such. Even when at one point he actually burned it down and so on. And Batrick explaining that with him running that and such, he then he then felt guilty and bad because, not being with his family and his son and so on. And how he specifically puts that, a very emotional part. And where, everything is all patched up now between Hermes and his late father. But sadly, that does not last long when Zoidberg he snips off Batrick, just... oh my gosh. But, yeah, it was fun while it lasted, and right when, things patched up between Hermes and his father, and Hermes misjudged him. Yeah. But, yeah, and because of this, well, Hermes would have almost gone in the same path/direction that happened with his father. But thankfully, that didn't happen. And Hermes, reuniting with LaBarbara and Dwight, and, just feeling like a jerk and so on, just, and how they specifically put at it. But everything's okay now, and, the Planet Espresso will no longer be in Planet Espresso, and, and a nice bonding moment between Hermes and his son Dwight. And even when what's left of Hermes' late father, Batrick, as a plant and bush, shrubber, is hanged up inside of the Planet Express building, just, but just overall, Episode 7, Planet Espresso, well, no, it's Espresso, no, there's no X, my bad. Yeah, it was another pretty good episode, I think, of Season 12. Where we have an episode that, well, we haven't seen in quite a while. And just like with the last episode that centered on Farnsworth, where we have an episode that, primarily centers on Hermes, and where we get to learn about his father, and when Hermes, felt upset and betrayed when, his father abandoned him, and just, And the whole thing with coffee, it was great. Oh, not to mention because, those habited aliens, we see them once again where, the coffee really being a big thing on planet Earth, and thus, them expanding. And also, it turns out that those habited aliens, they resemble the Starbucks logo, the mermaid with the fins being spread, you get what I'm saying, that's great. But I mean, those aliens were pretty cool as well. Yeah, the aliens that we get in this episode, and who'd have thought that, coffee was inhabited by aliens, but only in the world of Futurama, of course. Yeah, just everything about this episode was really good. Also, not to mention, can't forget to mention Mom's appearance, and also her 3 sons. That was great. And everything that was going on with the characters. Kyle MacLachlan's cameo in this. Just, again, everything about Episode 7, Planet Espresso. It was another pretty good episode of this season, and I think, maybe the same goes for some of you, if you enjoyed this. Okay, so, we now come to Episode 8. And yep, this being the third and last episode for my Part 3 review of Season 12 of Futurama. So, Episode 8. Cutness Overload. And this one, well, as I mentioned, because each of these 3 episodes centering on Farnsworth, Hermes, and, well, this one centering on Amy. Okay, so description / the story. Amy sets out to collect the cutest toys in the universe, but they are not as harmless as they appear. So, so first off, this episode, because it centers on Amy, I think that what this episode had to offer, and because it centers on Amy, it was a pretty good one. Amy and Kif, well, they're struggling parents, and that's what this episode dives into some, where, their kids are quite a handful, and, not on good terms, like, they're being spoiled and such, And, well, because the fact that Amy would explain this to her fellow Planet Express crew, that, because they have all the money, they get anything that their kids want and such, and yet they're still spoiled. Well, it's suggested that maybe they should maybe do some volunteering stuff and such, And that's when it is suggested to go to the Cookville Minimum Security Orphanarium, if I got that right. Some of it. Again, you know me sometimes. And whom runs that place, well, is the warden, which being, Warden Volg. Yep. And Warden Volg being voiced by another character being voiced by David Herman. And Leela, well, I mean, she lived at that place through her childhood. And, well, we've seen Warden Vogel before. Yeah, because in the early seasons of Futurama, we saw him with brown hair, and this time, yeah, he now has gray hair. So it's, kind of like a little nice reunion between him and Leela. And we see some of the kid characters, including one that is voiced by Nicole St. John, named Sally, who befriends Amy's daughter. And, oh, that's interesting, because the voice of Sally, this is her voice acting debut, technically, so, yeah, apparently so. And also, some of the other kids, like, we also have Albert and Nina, and they're both voiced by the talented voice actress Kath Susie. Yep. And also Dr. Ben Beeler making an appearance as well. But, yeah, so the time that Kif and Amy's kids spend doing some volunteering stuff, and when Mandy, Amy and Kif's daughter, they would befriend, she would befriend Sally, especially like when they're playing dolls, and man, Sally being quite dirty and, just looking gross and messy, then Mandy would be the same, and, and unfortunately, their play date is cut short when, later on they would disembark the place, and, well, Mandy upset that, having to leave, her new friend Sally, not to mention, like, the specific, like, plush toy that, Mandy saw Sally have. And yeah, Axel, can't forget to mention Axel, the son of Amy and Kif. And Axel, once again, being voiced by Maurice LaMarche. And, very fitting because, not only does Maurice LaMarche and Lauren Tom voice Kif and Amy, but they voice their children. So, yeah. And Amy actually makes things up for Mandy by getting that toy that Sally had and such, which that so happens to be the Fluffy Fun Bags. Yep, the Fluffy Fun Bags, and they're basically they're a parody and / a reference to two popular toy lines, the Beanie Babies and the Funko Pops. Yeah, I can see it now because with the eyes, and apparently the Fluffy Funny Bags are just twice. When they go to two stores, they're sold out. But when they come to another store, they're right there. And basically, they're very popular. Everybody just getting them. And, well, Amy is told that, with them being very collectible and such, and then it strikes Amy like that to then get addicted to collecting all of the Fluffy Fun Bags, even snatching the one that Mandy was going to get. And she only has like 200 more Fluffy Fun Bags to get. So, throughout the rest of the episode, she becomes addicted to getting some online, those that are being auctioned, and so on. Just, oh my gosh. Man. But meanwhile, Kif, along with Zach Bradigan, they are put on a mission to deal with something that's in the Mervina 6 at the Mervina 6 outpost. Something's happened there, and Zach Bradigan and Kif, they're told by this female admiral, and she goes, her name being Admirella. And Admirella being voiced by Tress MacNeille, and Tress MacNeille also voicing Hattie MacDougall, Linda, and one of the fun bags, as well as Mom, because they make appearances in this episode. So Admirella informing Zap, Bradigan, and Kif on what's going on. They have to get to the Mervina 6 outpost, and she strips off her Admiral getup and this clothing she's wearing that shows the map of the solar system, the space, and the planets. So, and to speed things up some, because, well, that's what Zap and Kif would do. They would make their way to the outpost in Mervina 6, and with what they would discover, because something happened. There's some dead bodies, and even when they check the security footage, well, they can see that the Planet Express crew stopped by at the outpost to deliver something. And even when they see Bender stealing something, he stole a vase, placed it in his chest, chest container. But nothing else happened. And Zap and Kif, they were okay with this, even with Bender, on account of Bender having stolen something. But something about the fluffy fun bags that just seems off. Not to mention that, what else happens in this episode? Farnsworth put the characters of Planet Express to the test, finding things cute. And when it would come up to, say, a picture of Bart Simpson, they don't find that cute. But that's nice, a little Simpsons reference. And, a cameo of Bart that we get, It's always nice, sometimes seeing, any Simpsons references in Futurama, and the other way around. Futurama references in The Simpsons. But anyways, because, well, the fluffy fun bags are the new thing that people are about, because, really loving their cuteness. Again, just all throughout the episode, pretty much. Amy just being obsessed collecting each and every fluffy fun bag. Even when she, at one point, drops off her kids back at the orphanage, the Cookville, telling them to sneak in and pretend to be orphans. Well, this gives Mandy the great opportunity to spend more fun time with her new friend Sally. And because of this, Amy makes her way to an auction where, a rare fluffy fun bag, I almost said fiend, a rare fluffy fun bag is going to be put up on auction, and everybody there holding up the numbers and stuff like that, even Mom showing up, But it turns out that the fluffy fun bag turns out to be a fake one. And Dr. Ben Beeler, he points this out, that there's something off about, the fake rare fluffy fun bag, and, not to mention that Sally already has that type of rare fluffy fun bag, because at a certain point, Amy, and even at the auction, she realizes that she feels guilty for all that she's done, and just being an obsessed collector and so on. But meanwhile, because, with the Planet Express crew, and when Zap and Kif, they showed up to mention this to them about what they discovered at the outpost of Mervina 6, and with the fluffy fun bags, which that's what they had been delivering. That's what they did deliver. But unbeknownst to them, that, what happened on that outpost, and apparently because this had to do with the fluffy fun bags. Because somehow the fluffy fun bags are alive. Something is bringing them to life. And when Farnsworth, he looks into this some more, and when they discover that something inside the fluffy fun bags that comes from the beans, apparently there's living, fluffy fun bags inside those beans, like they're almost like the beans are somewhat like eggs, and at any point, because they could hatch, so And they also discover that the only one that is in control of all of the fluffy fun bags and bringing them to life and so on is the Alpha fun bag. And, well, whom could the Alpha fun bag be? Well, that's when they would discover that it would be a rare fluffy fun bag. That's rare to find and to collect, besides all the other fluffy fun bags. Well, it just so happens that, and according to Scruffy, the ones that are hardcore collectors of fluffy fun bags might have a chance have that one. Either him or Amy, and Kif getting worried about that with the mentioning of Amy. And yeah, because seeing Amy back at the Cookville, the orphanage, again, she was gonna make things up towards her daughter, and also another reunion between Mandy and Sally, and when Amy would discover that Sally does have the rare fluffy fun bag, and she did, because she took it earlier from Sally, but then she felt the need to, give it back to Sally. However, Sally is more fond of the one that Amy did give her, which being an elephant-like fluffy fun bag, and Sally doesn't want that one that Amy took, but Amy being very insistent, But to speed things up still some, because, things would get out of hand. Even when Zap, Kif, and all of those from Planet Express, they would show up to handle the situation and win the fluffy fun bags, especially at the orphanage, they would all come to life, and because of the Alpha Fun Bag. And the Alpha Fun Bag, well, because, being called, Cashew Cuttlefish. Yeah, that's the name of the Alpha Fun Bag, being voiced by Billy West. Also, Tress MacNeille, she voices the Fun Bag jingle, the jingle that plays sometimes in this episode. But yeah, so with Cashew Cuttlefish coming to life, hug me, and so on. Yep, and that's when all the other fluffy fun bags come to life, and everybody that, from the Planet Express crew, Zap and Kif trying to take on the fluffy fun bags, but, that are having trouble trying to defeat them, especially on account of the cuteness. Even when Farnsworth brought, a barrel of toxin and such, like the death monkey barrel, as he calls it, But yeah, just having from Zap and Leela having trouble trying to kill them on account of the cuteness, and Bender making a joke of Bambi's mom, that was pretty funny. Even Bambi's mom deserved it. But yeah, also not to mention, because another funny moment that I can think of is Zap trying to hit on Leela. Hey, Leela, that was funny. Oh, Zap, just him being the ladies' man, and again, Zap Brannigan being Futurama's very own Kirk wannabe. You know what I'm saying? But anyways, but yeah, and still to speed things up some, because with the attack of the fluffy fun bag, well, and one way to defeat them, and especially comes down to Mandy, Sally, and Amy, basically embrace a hug, and so on. Even, that's what Cashew Cuttlefish wants. And, well, with them hugging Cashew Cuttlefish, that would cause, and by hugging Cashew Cuttlefish so tight, that's what they do. Amy and Sally, they squeeze/hug Cashew Cuttlefish by squishing him to death, and once he's dead, all of the others are defeated. Also, because some of the other fluffy fun bags, when they were being destroyed by Zap, Kif, and the others, well, them shooting out the beans, and well, that would cause the beans to hatch and such, with any explosion that happens from any of the fluffy fun bags. But eventually, and because Sally and Mandy, they saved the day, hugging Cashew Cuttlefish to death, that ended all the madness of the fluffy fun bags. With the Alpha Fun Bag dead, all of the others are no longer alive. Yeah. And once that's taken care of, well, everything's all patched up in the end, and, everything's good now with Amy, no longer being a obsessed collector and stuff like that. And as for the fluffy fun bags themselves, well, towards the end of the episode, they would all be disposed of. Yeah. Well, it was fun while it lasted for the fluffy fun bags. Now they're no longer the popular selling toy line, and now all of them being, in the dumpster and the garbage, just, yeah. Yeah, just, episode 8, Cutness Overload. It was a pretty good episode that centers primarily on Amy. And very clever and funny, because in this episode, we have a toy line that's a parody of, those two popular toy lines, the Beanie Babies and the Funko Pops, and what the fluffy fun bags are like. And what we get of, say, Kif and Amy's kids, and those at that orphanage, and the funny jokes here and there, and what goes on with the characters. Some emotion stuff here and there. I mean, yeah, because with Amy, her kids, and the fact that her daughter had made friends with a little girl at the orphanage. Just overall, episode 8, Cutness Overload, I thought it was a pretty good episode, and it's another episode that we haven't seen in a while that centers primarily on Amy. But yeah, overall, episodes 6, 7, and 8. Sorry, I did it too fast. They were, again, I thought they were another pretty good episodes for this season. Yep, with episode 6 having centered on Farnsworth, with Cara Delevingne's appearance, the whole thing of clothing, fashion design, the environmental message that's in the episode. With episode 7, Planet Espresso, centering on Hermes, and with coffee having existed before humankind, only in the world of Futurama, a new race of aliens we see that have provided the coffee from their home planet. We get to see Hermes' father and how all these years Hermes had a strained relationship with his father, but eventually in the end, it all turned out fine. And with episode 8, primarily centering on Amy, the toy line that's in this episode, what goes on with Amy's kids, funny, great, overall, episodes 6, 7, and 8 of Season 12 of Futurama, they were some pretty good, not bad episodes for Season 12. And what about you guys? What did you think of episodes 6, 7, and 8 themselves? Which ones were your favorite? And do you think they did pretty good with centering on, those characters from Farnsworth, Hermes, and Amy? Favorite moments from each of these episodes? And with what goes on with each of them, the environmental message, the fashion design, the toy line, and with coffee, again, overall, what do you think of episodes 6, 7, and 8 themselves? And with what I've had to say, my review, and what did you think of my review? Leave comments and give this review video a like, as always. And so, guys, with all that being said, thank you very much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed my Part 3 review of Season 12 of Futurama, Episode 6, Attack of the Clothes, Episode 7, Planet Espresso, and Episode 8, Cutness Overload. More review videos are coming your way. They're going to be awesome. Keep looking forward, and I will see you guys in the next video / review. And, up next, my 4th and final part review of Season 12 of Futurama. Only 2 episodes left, and those being episodes, 9 and 10. Yep, stay tuned for that. Until then, take care, and peace out.